moving on. So one of the solutions that we've been looking at and trying to implement and working with the farmers are cover crops. And this is an example. This picture is one of the farmers we're working with. This is a 3-week growth or stand of cover crop. And cover crops is basically a crop that is not harvested but grown to benefit the soil and other crops in these various ways. Reduce soil erosion. Those root systems bind the soils together and can hold soil in place. Improve soil quality. At those roots, on the root systems, you'll have microorganisms that help to transfer atmospheric nitrogen back into the soil and into the plant. So, and we also have improved water quality. You saw those spikes in nitrogen. Where are those spikes coming from? It's nitrogen, leaving our farm fields or the home lots, that kind of thing. There's also some studies that show reduced weed pressure and insect or other pest problems. And I'll just mention too, on this discussion of cover crops, these are things that you guys, or homeowners can do as well on in their gardens to help retain nutrients and reduce fertilizer use. So our solution, or solution we're working toward, I should say, we got 4 farmers involved in a cover crop planting for an acreage of 418 acres. We decided to do an aerial seeding on this September, dropping over 26,000 pounds of seed from the sky at 63 pounds per acre. So when I say we, that was not me or in the plane. This guy, he was here. I did take the picture. There you go. I get credit for that. So yeah, it was kind of exciting to see him swooping over the field. So the seed mix we use is oilseed radish, and the radish is a deep rooting, so it's excellent from that standpoint. Crimson clover is considered a legume, and then it fixes nitrogen, and so that's beneficial to release nitrogen back into the soil. And then winter cereal rye is beneficial from the standpoint of the biomass, takes up a lot of that nitrogen and phosphorus, and then oats. So the total cost over $21,000, and we cost shared about $6,000, a little over $6,000 of that. So considerable investment here, and there will be more to come. One of the obstacles, unfortunately, we did face this year was just the lack of rain and this is something that's hard to control, and but we experienced lack of rain after this seeding date, so our crop stand was not what we had hoped, but we're going to keep trying. So one of the things we're doing is we're actually taking soil samples from the fields as well and sending the soil test results to the University of Texas, or Texas A&M, for analysis, and working with the professor down there. So you can see our Howard Creek sample. There's the Dry Fork, Northeast Lee Creek, and then our 2 Dry Fork farmers. And so these are, can't see that, but these are the results from our farm field. Nitrogen should be, it varies depending on the crop and the farm field, but we should be seeing somewhere between 120 and 150 pounds per acre. And so look at what we're finding in the spring. Our highest was about 1/3 of what it needed to be. So where's all that nitrogen going? That's right. So does that make sense why we're seeing those spikes that we're seeing in this watershed then? So this is something we're trying to get a better handle on. The phosphorus, alternatively, is actually, we're looking at a value of about 100 pounds per acre that we should be seeing. So most of these farms actually have about as much phosphorus as they need on the fields. So do they need to be using phosphorus fertilizer? No, right. So that could explain why we're seeing high phosphorus. Even if, for example, some of these farms, even if they don't fertilize, there's still excessive phosphorus that the crops aren't going to be using in the background levels in the soils there. So it's kind of explaining why we're seeing what we are in the water quality. So some of our further considerations that we're trying to implement into this project is refining the timing of the soil sampling. There's this timed release of nitrogen that occurs in the spring when you plant cover crops that occurs when the soil temperatures reach about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And so, we want to try to get out and take those soil samples as close as we can to this 50 degrees. And even in areas where cover crops don't do so well, you may have a soybean field that, those soybeans are also fixing nitrogen and releasing back into the soils. And other things we want to look at is measurement of cover crop biomass. Also evaluating an alternative means for cover crop seeding. Honestly, the aerial seeding is not the most efficient method, but logistically it's the easiest. And one thing farmers are concerned with when you start driving equipment like a high clearance air seeder through their fields is crop damage. Now there's Crawford County has used a high clearance air seeder and claim there's only about a 1% crop damage. So it's not too much of a concern, but you do have to convince the farmers of that. And then another thing that I would like to look at more is the effective drain tile installation on water quality and leaching of nitrate. Because we know there's a lot of drain tile around here and probably responsible for those direct conduits of nitrate into the water system. Bruce?
Sewer districts or stormwater districts or health departments map drain tile locations, or is it unknown?
To my knowledge, it's known for those areas that where NRCS is working with landowners, but I don't know of any source that if they're not working with NRCS or Soil and Water, I don't know of any other source that would have those maps. Bernie?
When is your seeding versus harvesting time?
Mid to late August. So we were before harvest. It would be couple months. So again, weather dependent, but in general, couple months. So and you can go with cover crop seeding like we went to mid-September, and you can still have success with that. It's just very weather dependent. So. Okay, so what can we do? We can actually test our soils, and so we know the appropriate fertilizer amounts to use. And we're actually, the Soil and Water Conservation District sells these soil test kits for $5 a piece for Hamilton County landowners. And so we can engage in this process as well. Also, if you mow, I don't use any fertilizer. I just, leave the grass clippings on the lawn or mulch the leaves in the fall. But that helps, create a slow release of nitrogen into our soils. Also, lawns contribute more soil particles and phosphorus to water than do streets. And we want thick green lawns, but we don't want thick green rivers and streams. So that's our goal here. And just another note with regard to pesticides. There are many alternatives that you can use. Combinations of dishwashing soap, garlic, and red pepper are also pesticides alternatives. And we have a whole flyer on the table out here that if you guys want to learn more about that, I encourage you to pick one of those up, and then we'll be willing to answer any questions there. And also your OSU extension agents are good resources for this kind of thing. As far as the data uses and applications, you know, I've just been talking about this one, you know, our use with locating agricultural BMPs and getting in the right watersheds and locations. I've also been in discussions with our stormwater district and public health, and Chris here, regarding potential use for the data in modeling. But you know, this is one reason why, you know, we're really interested in the quality of the data and you know, ramping up that effort, and I think we're doing a good job, and but we want to continue moving forward there. Also, as Mike was noting, the Lower Great Miami TMDL will be coming out, we hope, sometime. So that's an area where we can comment and have a lot of data to really review with a keen eye. The Indiana Department of Environmental Management is also engaging in a Whitewater River TMDL study, and you know, because the Whitewater comes into southwest Ohio, I think we should have some valuable input. And we've actually been in connection with the Indiana Department of Environmental Management on this. Working locally with the Hamilton County Park District, we've actually partnered with them on a tree planting effort in the Miami Whitewater Forest area, and have been able to kind of use this data to target the best locations for tree plantings. So that's been a good thing. As well as I've been in conversation with the parks regarding you know, prioritizing the Miami Whitewater area for infrastructure upgrades with respect to their wastewater facilities. And you know, they've got a campground over there, and could be partially responsible for some spikes at West Road there in terms of nutrients. Just to kind of finalize, we've got some of the stats from the last 5 years. It really is amazing. You know, when you look back 5 years ago, our first March event in 2010, we brought in 15 samples, and we were like, wow, 15 samples, this is great, you know. But here we are in 2014, we're at 92 samples a month average, and our high was 99 samples, and we've gone from around 1,600 analyses to almost 7,000 analyses. So I would echo what Mike was saying of, you know, of all of you guys who are samplers and the analysts. I mean, this is an incredible effort, really, and we can't do it without all of you guys. And our volunteer labor has gone from 750 hours up to over 1,400 hours for a value of almost $40,000. If you were to well, that's what I did, compute that. So anyway, and you can see we've had a number of presentations with the data and uses. So to kind of round things out here, some of the individual actions that you can do, we can all do to help improve water quality. We've sort of mixed in a lot of this with our presentations, so I won't go through all of these, but just, you know, one of the ones that this time of year that stands out is salt use. You know, the more we can kind of minimize or be strategic, you know, don't put a lot of salt in an area that's going to drain directly to our waterways or into a storm drain. And then washing the vehicles at a car wash or unpaved surface. I think, you know, we might be seeing something with our optical brighteners if, you know, we're not doing that. But also recycling. This is one that sometimes people don't connect with water quality. But, you know, Mike was showing the slides with Banquet Creek and elevated conductivity. So we have some elevations in our parameters coming out of landfills. There's chlorides, sulfates, that kind of thing. So, you know, recycling helps to reduce landfill waste and reduce the impact of landfills long term. And that's all I got there. So some of those other things you can, they've got tons of information on the tables and over here and in there. and feel free to grab any of those on your way out. So we appreciate your undivided attention here, and we'd be glad to entertain
Lisa, you want to say anything about next year?
Well, I would like to say that if all of you could please fill out one of the little surveys that was on your chair. We do